A nefarious nightmare contains themes that may be explicit or triggering for some. Specific warnings and disclaimers will be mentioned in the show notes. A nefarious nightmare assumes all parties that are mentioned in these cases to be innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. Listener discretion is strongly advised. You can help us grow the show by leaving us a 5-star written review on Apple Podcast or Spotify, or you can join our Patreon for lighthearted bonus content. With this, welcome to Season 5.
We can and have learned from Amanda and her experiences. Amanda has allowed others from all over the world to hear her words. Those who have been bullied both in cyberspace and in the schoolyard and even in the workplace are now more openly talking about their experiences. Anyone can save a life by just taking a few minutes to educate themselves about bullying and suicide. Recognizing the signs and being able to help a person in need is critical. We have to look after our current generation as well as our future generation.
Quote from Amanda Todd's mother, Carol Todd.
Phase 1 is near completion, and we want to take a moment to remember Amanda Todd and dedicate this episode and the 3 prior to her and her family. She was bullied and taunted both on and offline. She was a victim of sextortion and had ended her own life because the weight of what was happening felt too much for her to bear. Our objective here has been and will continue to be prevention of this happening to another person, and really applying pressure to end sextortion, revenge porn, cyberbullying, bullying in general, harassment, and overall every sex crime. With that, I'm Courtney Fenner.
And I'm Amanda Cronin, and A Nefarious Nightmare presents Still Minding the Beehive, Surviving Sex Crimes, Part 4.
Before we conclude Phase 1 of this series with Tatum, real quick reminder that in just a few short weeks, we will be attending the True Crime and Paranormal Podcast Festival from Friday, August 25th through Sunday, August 27th. Come see us. You can get a discount on your ticket by visiting truecrimepodcastfestival.com, navigate to the ticket sales page of the site, input your type of ticket and how many, and use code BEES, that's BEES, at checkout to save you some cash. And it's going to be fun, and we better see you there.
Brief summary of Phase 1. Sextortion is a form of a sex crime where photos of individuals are stolen or saved for the purpose of distributing them in exchange for money or used as blackmail. It is often interchanged with revenge porn, which involves sharing explicit content without the consent for the purpose of revenge. Both acts violate the victim's consent and are considered forms of digital rape. The victims, including children as young as 8 years old, suffer lifelong impacts such as hypervigilance, mistrust, depression, PTSD, and suicidal thoughts.
Sextortion and revenge porn are felony offenses, but they're often under-investigated and swept under the rug. Victims, families, and survivors endure re-traumatization, constantly reliving their ordeal, facing shaming, blaming, and disappointment from law enforcement and the legal system. Some victims die by suicide to the overwhelming impact of this crime. Victims and survivors battle depression, fear, and ongoing shaming from perpetrators and outsiders.
Efforts are being made to expose the perpetrators and bring them to justice. We aim to raise awareness, provide information, and encourage victims to come forward. The perpetrators are known to boast about their actions, but the hope is that their actions will eventually lead to their capture. The involvement of children in these crimes intensifies the seriousness of the offenses, and law enforcement is urged to take the matter seriously.
We have also highlighted the presence of incel behavior in the perpetrators. The incel movement consists of young men who believe they are unable to attract women sexually and exhibit hostility towards both women and sexually active men. The perpetrators express hatred towards women, engage in revenge porn, and attempt to profit from it.
Each victim reacts differently to the crime, and their reactions should be understood and respected. Paris, who you all heard from in episode 3 of this season, is a prime example. She initially appeared nonchalant, but was deeply affected by the crime. She experienced digital sexual assault and exploitation, highlighting the fact that victims should not be blamed for the crimes committed against them.
To give a brief summary of Amanda Todd, who was then 15 years old, posted a video in 2012 detailing how the cyberstalker had tormented her. Amanda unalived herself 5 weeks after uploading her widely watched YouTube video, and after explicit photos of her were leaked online. Aiden Koban, the perpetrator, had harassed her for nearly 3 years online using 22 separate fake social media accounts. He sent messages to her between 2009, starting that she was 13 years old, through 2012. Ultimately, he was not charged with Amanda's death. Fortunately, though, he did end up being found guilty on a couple of offenses, which we would really advise you to go back and listen to our Amanda Todd episode because we do get into detail about all of that. But we do know that he was very recently found guilty.
A brief summary of NPD and incels. NPD stands for Narcissistic Personality Disorder, which is a mental health condition characterized by an inflated sense of self-importance or constant need for admiration and a lack of empathy for others. Individuals with NPD often have an exaggerated sense of their own abilities and achievements, and they may have difficulty maintaining healthy relationships due to their self-centeredness. On the other hand, incels refer to the term involuntary celibates, which is a subculture of individuals, mostly men, who claim to be unable to find a romantic or sexual partner, despite desiring one. The term was initially coined by a woman in the early 1900s, but has since evolved to be associated with a more negative connotation. Incels often blame external factors such as their physical appearance or social norms for their inability to form relationships, and this can lead to feelings of anger, resentment, and even misogyny.
Now, it is important to note that having narcissistic personality disorder does not automatically make someone an incel, nor does being an incel mean someone has NPD. NPD is a diagnosed mental health condition, whereas incel is a self-identified label that can encompass individuals from various backgrounds and psychological profiles. While there may be some overlap in the experiences of individuals with NPD and some incels, it is crucial to approach each case individually and avoid generalizations. Both NPD and the incel subculture are complex topics that require a nuanced understanding of mental health, personal experiences, and societal factors.
In the past few episodes, you've heard reenactments of text and screenshots between assailants and the victims. Please listen to the final chilling reenactment for Phase 1, and remember that aside from synonyms given from each reenactment, that these are not fiction. These actually were written.
Narration: Jane X.
Later that same month, September 2022, another victim reached out to me, believing it was this guy, we'll call him Suspect 3, that she used to work with at Walmart in Fremont. Her reasoning was because at some point in the past, she received a fishy DM on Insta from an unknown account saying that her account was compromised, and he was trying to get her to give him her data so that he could quote-unquote protect her account for her. Her account was private, and the profile picture was of an object. After the problem with the nude started, she revisited her DMs in that account. The account was no longer private, and she looked through it, seeing that the images were all of this guy we will call Suspect 3. This was his personal account. So now we had a lead. After speaking with Jane 3 about this, I checked my own account and saw that this guy not only followed me as well, but all the selfies that were screenshotted from my page and extorted were liked by that account. Mind you, I don't know Suspect 3. I'd never heard of him. Jane 3 remembered him as very creepy when they worked together. She used to have people walk her to her car after work because he would be waiting outside for her. Suspect 3 also used to date another girl. We'll call her Jane 4. He also went out on a date with Jane X in 2016, and she rejected him because he creeped her out. He was also apparently very controlling to Jane 4 when they were together. Suspect 3 was deported at some point, and according to his now shortened Instagram handle, currently resides in Spain. The fact that he speaks Spanish is also very important in this investigation. As a Spanish speaker myself, I noticed the way the perpetrator speaks makes sense lexically in Spanish, but not English. For example, when he was talking to Jane 2, pretending to be Suspect 2, he was saying, "No, please don't tell at my baby mama," which doesn't make sense. In English, we would say, "Please don't tell my baby mama." What's funny is in Spanish, that makes perfect sense. In Spanish, you'd say, "No, por favor, no le digas a mi baby mama," which directly translates to, "No, please don't tell at my baby mama." Interesting, right? Not to mention, in one of the screenshots of me and the perpetrator posted, you can clearly see that the phone is set to Spanish. Also, after the news story with KETV aired, Suspect 4's own sister messaged me on Facebook asking if she could have the link to the porn site because she thought she could have also been a victim. The message seemed fishy, so I never responded. I didn't even know it was his sister until I showed Jane X a screenshot of the message, and she responded with, "That's Suspect 4's sister." Pretty crazy. I think other men could be involved. I believe Suspect 4 is the mastermind, but that he is getting photos from other dudes in the Fremont area. The perpetrator did tell me that there are others involved and sent me screenshots of other guys sending him nudes, although I'm not sure if the conversations with other guys are legit. It very well could be photoshopped. Suspect 1 asserts that they are. Funny thing is, one of them is from Suspect 2. I think they're all involved. I think that the screenshots from other guys, including Suspect 1, are real. Suspect 4 got all of these dudes to send him videos and photos, and he put them online and is harassing everyone on his own via all these fake accounts. It's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Promised her I wouldn't do it, so...
Active 2 hours ago. You're not friends on Facebook. Lives in Omaha, Nebraska. Sunday, 6:43 p.m.
What's up, buddy? You want pics of her? $500. That's what you said, right? I got videos, too.
Sunday, 8:56 p.m. Suspect 4. Active now.
Bro, I don't see her face. Who is that?
It's her body.
I don't know if you really have hers.
Now you send some naked stuff of her and I'll send you more.
Facebook. Active now.
You're gonna have to knock your way out of this. I need to know all the names.
Okay, hold on. I'm making a list.
You don't have long. Show me proof that it's them, too.
I'm getting the names right now.
Proceeds to name drop.
And who else?
Suspect number 1.
Active 47 minutes ago.
I got too many and this girl too on my Snapchat.
That's all I'm sending you for free. That video is at least 1 minute long.
All I need is some topless or something like that.
Here's more of Jane 3. If you want them, you gotta pay me first.
Same thing, no face on one of those pics you sent me before. Oh, okay, thought you sent me video shit.
That's a video of her riding me and calling me daddy.
You sent me that one too before, remember? And it's a pic, bro, not a video.
I sent you a pic, LMAO. Not the video.
Jane X. Active now.
I'll keep you posted, okay?
Explain this.
Prior screenshots of leaked nudes and conversation shown.
That's fake, actually. It's not difficult to Photoshop a simplistic layout like Facebook's in order to cover your tracks if you really want to, you know? All he had to do was copy a clip of my profile and place it on top. Or he can also make a genuinely fake account using my name and photo. You never know.
I don't believe you.
That's okay. I understand why, honey. Tell me, you always talk about me. What about the other 6 in this? You're the one who messages me. LOL.
Conversation ended.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, there is something terrifying about an anonymous specter that seems to infiltrate these women's phones, emails, and social media. It's got to be so paralyzing to have your personal information in the form of intimate photography just passed around to complete strangers, and especially so when this anonymous person is threatening to keep them up unless they get what they want. It's just as though they won't let up. It's almost as if you are under coercive control or some form of puppetry where the victims are this assailant's playthings. It's especially chilling that minors are involved, and we have to remind you all, as well as ourselves, that we must be extra careful moving forward with what we do online.
I 100% agree with that. Today, to wrap up Phase 1 and to open Phase 2, we will be hearing from a familiar voice. If you listened to the Minding the Beehive series in Season 2, you will remember Tatum. She was swindled out of money by Adrian Vildusea, but fortunately wasn't sexually assaulted or violently attacked. Tatum has become a very good friend of ours and has done not only a phenomenal job at being a true friend, but has also been an incredible ally and advocate for others. She continues to fight alongside the bees who have survived Adrian, and we also credit her for bringing this sextortion case to our attention. We feel that her voice is important in this series. So without further ado, here's Tatum.
My name is Tatum. You might remember me from Minding the Beehive. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. I'm a hairstylist here, and needless to say, there's a lot of boring people here, and I don't really get to do a lot of the stuff that I like to do, but yeah, I do a lot of hair, just off the wall, like haircuts and colors and whatnot. A lot of people are pretty conservative here. I'm in a band with my fiance, and that takes up a lot of our time during the week too. And big plant freak. Oh, I have a pug. Everyone to know about my pug. Yep, his name's Vader, and I'm obsessed with him. But yeah, I think that's everything everybody needs to know. I'm pretty new into being in this band, and it was pretty much like a year in to being in my band, and I was really wanting to expand myself, more like try to work with other people to get more used to hearing myself recorded. And I had been talking to a lot of people, like even like locally, about working alongside them and just kind of figuring out like what my sound was and all that and stuff. And I do realize now that I had quite a bit of people that I helped out in little ways, like financially, and I don't want to like specify just financially just because that's not really important, but it's important to this story in particular because it got me into a bit of trouble. But I had met Adrian because he had followed me on Facebook, and all I did was mention that the guy had a nice outfit, and that's all I really said. And I didn't really mean to make other than a friendly gesture to a possible friend, and he latched on really quick. That's what a lot of these girls will say, and you'll understand why just because he's so desperate. But oh geez, he couldn't stand the fact that I was in a committed relationship, to be honest. But I know he really wanted me to come out there, so he had told this lie to quite a bit of people that he was in Blessed Fall. And I don't know if anyone knows about that band, but they were pretty big when I was in high school, and I think they still are pretty big. They have different members now, but he told me he played back in the band when I listened to them, basically, with all their original members. And he would tell me little bits and pieces of oh, well, Craig Mabbitt's a piece of shit or whatnot. And I'm like, okay, elaborate. And he's like, I can't. But yeah, I always thought that was really, really interesting about him. And he was I don't know, anybody who talks to this man knows he's very odd. And At this time, I was, to get in a little bit of my backstory, I had just moved like an hour away from my hometown to be with my now fiance. He was my boyfriend at the time, but his friends were freaking horrible to me, and I was just so starving for any bit of friendship I could possibly get. So when anybody was like, hey, I need some help, I was like, what can I do? I mean, I even had this friend lived up in Chicago, and one day he told me, he's like, hey, my girlfriend needs tampons. And I was like, okay, dude, let's get her some tampons. I was like, do you need money for dinner? Like, I was just that kind of person. So he knew exactly who he could take advantage of. He had told me that I should come up and, do some music work with him. And at the time, I didn't quite know if he was telling the truth, but I knew he was kind of shifty. But, before I had kind of dug deep and started to try to ask more questions about who he was, he would always change the subject. It was a lot of red flags. I do want to add that even though I never met this man and I went on that trip with them, which everyone will know about eventually. I mean, everyone knows, but I had even said, I was like, I don't even feel really comfortable going on this trip because he didn't really do a lot to me, especially what he has done to everybody else. Like, compared, I just wanted to be there for everybody and make sure they got the justice that they deserved. Because what he did was shitty to me, but what he did was just unforgivable to everybody else, It was we finally did it. It was kind of short-lived, but man, we worked hard, and it's still an ongoing battle, but we worked hard to get a chip. Even there was one point we looked on Google at one point and his name was trending, and it was over 3,000 people looking into who he was as a person, and that's just overwhelming, right? That many people wanted to look into who this person was because he has touched so many people's lives in horrible ways. TikTok, I have every now and then I'll have people kind of trying to push at my buttons, but I don't really pay attention to it, to be honest. I know what I'm doing is a good thing, and no one will ever tell me it's not. He has strings he can pull. If you look deep enough into his background, he has strings he can pull, and we all knew that this wasn't going to be a cut and dry, simple situation. We were just saying we were shocked, but also not shocked. Yeah, we really thought that we'd have an upper hand with a more a feminine judge who would understand our stress of wanting a predator off the street, especially who goes after young people that don't know any better. All I know is that he has not had any contact with us, I don't believe, but his mom has a burner Facebook account that she'll harass victims on, and she tried to add Holly. I don't know what came out of that. The burner account is just it. I don't want to say the name, but the picture is a bowl of salad. And so some of us put a bowl of salad in our profile picture. I'm so glad I get to talk about that because everybody thought it was really funny, but nobody knew the exact reason why we were doing it. And Haley still has hers up. I love her. She's the one who started it. I just followed. Oh, Chris Hansen's really nice. I love him as a person, and his whole crew are very genuine people who really care about the people they bring on their show, to be honest. I mean, in my honest opinion. They put us in this really lovely hotel. They were appreciative of us being there. They weren't making us feel uncomfortable whatsoever. It felt really nice to feel heard. So Ashlyn actually lives in my actual hometown. I say my hometown is Omaha, but I was actually born in Fremont, and this is where this is mostly happening, or where it's originating from, or whatever you want to call it. Like, a lot of people in this small town in Nebraska are really getting affected by this, and apparently it's stemming across like a lot of different states. But her boyfriend is a tattoo artist there, and I follow a lot of artists in town, whether it be like hairdressers or tattoo artists, piercers, you name it. And I had noticed he was in Fremont, and I had messaged him one day, and I was just like, you must get the most boring shit that comes into your shop. And we kind of joked about it. And then I had noticed he was dating somebody, and so I immediately follow her because that's just who I am. And then I go to meet one of my friends at one of the tattoo conventions in Omaha, and I finally meet her. And that's when I meet Ashlyn at the tattoo convention when I'm going to see my friend perform. And she's so sweet. And we just kind of hit it off from there. She had came up a couple of times to get her hair done, and she had confided in me what she had been going through the past year or so. And it just shook me. I felt like her story needed to be heard. So you were the first person I felt like she needed to reach out to. Well, I knew she needed help, and I knew that every place she was trying to get help from was just kind of like brushing her off, or everybody off for that matter. You know, coming from somebody who, like, my dad already doesn't really talk to me, and this would kind of be like the nail in the coffin if this were to happen to me. Luckily, I have a pretty understanding mother that would, you know, it would blow over with her, no problem. But my dad, however, I don't know how he would react, like, being in this situation. I mean, if I were in this situation, it's really intimate, personal information that's being shared. And I can't even imagine. My heart goes out to everybody who's going through this. And everybody who wants to cast like awful words at other people, like, we've all been there, you know? Like, don't act like you have stuff in your phone that you wouldn't want people to see, because you do. Right? Like, nobody deserves to not have privacy, and nobody deserves to not be the person they want to be behind closed doors, no matter what, you know? Taking into consideration that this is business property, like, and OnlyFans is a business, you are business. And keep in consideration, like, bands, like, they put out a certain song, you download that illegally, you should be punished, you know, you get punished for that, you know? And if it gets spread, like, you know, it eventually gets deleted, right? I mean, that's what's supposed to happen, but nobody's looking out for these people that this happens to. But it's going to, you know, it happens with artists. These people are like, it's hard work. I don't do that stuff. I mean, you know, like, I don't want to say that I don't have stuff on my phone I don't want my family to see, because I do. But I couldn't do like sex work online all day. Like, that is mentally draining, and I really support anybody who wants to do that for a living, because I cannot do it, and I can imagine how hard it would be on you. And my heart goes out to people who do that and they make a living out of it, because you know what, you gotta really harden your soul to do it sometimes, you know? And if that's how you want to make money, you can make money doing it. Like, people want to make, like, you know, you can make decent money doing it, and there's no shame in doing it. It's just, this is a platform that's not supposed to be happening on. Like, that's why they are able to come to this platform. And it's a shame that they can't feel safe. I know a lot of people know this already, but my former roommate and I had dated like 5 years prior, and realized that we were better as friends, and always were better as friends. And we always remained friends until the day we kicked him out, because his alcohol addiction had got so bad that, you know, he had basically just kind of like turned against us, and it was just really sad. He was actually a really good friend of ours, and it was really good when he was here. And, when he started to kind of go downhill with his drinking, it was when our friendship kind of started to fall apart, and he started to be kind of losing faith in himself as a human and wanting to kind of do things that he would consider taking his life. And he would kind of joke about it. And when I would get a hold of his parents about it, they would just kind of ignore me or brush it off. And I wasn't going to be the person that watched him like break down and like pass away in my house. And I think it came to the point where there was one day he was trying to quit, like almost cold turkey, but he was still taking like shots every now and then, and it was just really messing with his brain. And he had a horrible seizure in our living room, and we had to resuscitate him and call an ambulance. And that really that was really hard on us. It was the final straw. We were like, you need to take care of yourself and like get some help, or we can't have you here. And he didn't, and we finally had to kick him out. And it was really hard to do that, but we've been better ever since. And I know he hates us, but can't really let somebody do that to your life. Like, he would be downstairs like drunk asleep on the couch with the TV blaring and his guns on the coffee table loaded, because he would be so paranoid that people were like trying to rob the house because we just moved in. So he was kind of losing it at the end, and I'm honestly hoping he's doing better. But he's not a horrible person. He just has a horrible addiction to alcohol and hard to kick. We were really trying to help him heal through his alcoholism and try to lead a healthier life. But he wanted to be secretive, and he wanted to still live the life that was going to eventually kill him. And I couldn't sit there and watch it anymore in my own house. That's kind of what it boiled down to. I do want to mention that when I was doing the podcast and the documentary series, I was not talking to my parents. So kind of like, and I'm talking to my mother now, and I eventually kind of like, I wanted to tell her before she ever saw anything online about it. But yeah, I told her that I went on and I'm advocating for these people that, were taken advantage and assaulted by this man. And it kind of shook her for a second, because I had never come to her with a problem like a man was taking advantage of me, because in my life, it was mostly me taking care of the people I was with. So I think it was something very different that she was listening to. And she broke down and cried. And I think it kind of brought us closer together. I feel a lot more confident in what I did, because at the time I was feeling very, like, am I going to get a lot of backlash from people for, trying to help out this person, but also trying to dig deeper into what he did to people. And I know if people haven't listened to my episode on Minding the Beehive, they don't really understand this concept. But I really had to like almost lie and like be in a fake relationship with Adrian in order to figure out more things about him. And there is somebody else that we basically catfished to get him arrested, and she went through basically almost the same thing. And I was confiding in her about like how emotionally draining it is to put on that mask and try to have a conversation with somebody you know is clearly insane and is trying to hurt you. My fiance was actually talking about doing an indie film, kind of loosely based on what Holly and like a lot of other people went through with Adrian, but not exactly like the same characters. I think just kind of to spread awareness. And I thought that was really awesome. He brought this up on his own accord. So hopefully he's able, or we're both able to eventually do that. I think we all need to learn to listen to our fellow females when they're telling us to watch out for somebody and not personally go to jealousy, because I think girl code needs to be more strong than it is. Bottom line, there's really big strength in numbers. Nobody would have even batted an eye if no one would have even wanted to come together and tell their story. And that's huge. And there's a lot of people that don't want to tell their story still. I don't blame them either. Oh my gosh. It is so easy to make a fake profile and make it really believable nowadays. Back in the day, you know, my MySpace people, you'd be able to find a catfish profile and pretty much spot it from a mile away. And nowadays there's so much technology and ways you can hide a lot of things and be on different social media accounts and be undetectable by different names. It's really easy to conceal yourself as a predator, and it's freaking scary. I'm very concerned for when my youngest sister starts dating, but she says she's bi. Hopefully she likes girls more. I feel a bit more safer. To add to that last question, where I was saying that predators can conceal themselves a lot better on social media now, make sure to share your location with somebody that can help if there's an emergency, or make sure somebody knows where you're going, because a lot of these people who are sharing these stories from Minding the Beehive, some of them weren't even they didn't even know if they were going to make it home that night, and nobody knew where they were. And that's really dangerous. So just always make sure you're sharing your location with somebody and somebody knows where you are. I want their story to be heard. I want them to get some actual tangible help where they can actually convict somebody, because this needs to stop. It's still going on, and it never stops. There's more people that get involved every day, from what I understand. And at this point, it shouldn't be happening. There's so many resources and things we can do online to stop this, and at this point it's just people not wanting to do their job, and it's ridiculous. Well, I just want to personally say I love everybody in that group. Even if they don't talk a lot, I'm still sympathizing and there for everybody in that group if they wanted to talk. But I have never had a more genuine group of friends until I met all these people, and it's kind of crappy yet awesome in the same, because I literally talk to these people every day, and I have never really had any group of friends that want to talk to me every single day, and they're just talking about everything, and we're all celebrating each other, and it's pretty great. I do have to say, I wish everybody that went through this amount of trauma and bullshit in their life can come together like this. But at least something somewhat positive came out of all of this. As far as Adrian goes, him and everybody involved, I don't want to say too much, but everybody involved with him can go suck a dick. They have ruined so many lives, and they don't even quite understand it. They are just so entrenched with what their baby boy wants, and it's quite honestly disgusting, and I hope they feel like shit, and I hope that all these people feel a little bit better that this person's finally getting the judgment from from society. I hear it's hard for him to get jobs now. There's a lot of people that just recognize him on the street. And even from personally talking to him, when I was trying to get more information out of him. He was very scared for his life, and I can't imagine that's really changed. So, yeah, I'm really hoping he's paranoid every day he wakes up, because last time I talked to him, that's exactly how he felt. And I'm really hoping that everyone else who's fucking with all these people is feeling the exact same pitiful way every morning. And I hope that they just hope that they're in prison just so they can try to make it right, because it's going to come eventually. And from what all I've learned and I want to say this, I'm not calling it the justice system anymore. It's the legal system. Because to be completely honest, the legal system will only go after money that they can, 100% guaranteed get. If it is a case where it is going to be split down the middle and they're not going to win any money, they're probably not going to go after it. So the more you really fight and really talk about an issue, the more they're going to have to give a shit about it. So really, if we want these people behind bars, we have to scream and fight, because no one is going to really want to listen to us. And that is why I am always thankful for you and Amanda, because you actually give a voice to people. And there's only so much you can say in a Facebook post or a video on TikTok, it really takes a long while to sit down and really explain the hurt and trauma that you've been through. Even if you don't feel like it's a lot, it really changes you.
We would like to thank Tatum for joining us for this episode and for helping to shed light on this very important phase of this series. We love you, Tatum. Before we leave you all for today, we have a call to action. If you're listening to this episode, have listened to the first 3 as well, and are completely caught up, we ask you all to contact your local representatives and ask them to double down on sextortion and criminalize it further than they are. To contact your representatives and advocate for stronger measures against sextortion, follow these steps.
Identify your representatives. Determine who your local representatives are at the national and state levels. This includes your senators, members of Congress, and state legislators. You can find their contact information on official government websites or through online directories.
Next, you can draft a message. Prepare a concise and clear message expressing your concern about sextortion and the need for increased criminalization. Highlight the negative impact it has on victims and the importance of taking stronger action against this crime. You can use the following points as a starting point for your message.
Introduce yourself and mention that you are a concerned constituent. Explain what sextortion is and why it's a pressing issue. Emphasize the psychological and emotional damage inflicted on victims. Express your support for tougher legislation and stricter penalties for sextortion offenses. Provide any personal anecdotes, statistics, or research that strengthen your case. Request that your representatives prioritize this issue and take action to address it.
Also, choose your communication method. You can contact your representatives through various means, including phone calls, emails, or even written letters. Consider which method suits you best based on your comfort level and the response time you expect. If you utilize phone calls, find the phone numbers of your representatives and just call their offices.
Now, be prepared to speak briefly with a staff member or leave a voicemail summarizing your message. If you prefer the email venue, visit your representatives' websites to locate their email addresses. Craft a well-written email addressing each representative individually and copy the same message to each of them. Finally, if you prefer the more traditional route of written letters, send a physical letter to their offices. Be sure to include your return address and provide a clear subject line regarding the purpose of your letter.
And follow-up. After you've sent your message, consider following up with a phone call to ensure that your communication was received and to reiterate your concerns. This can help reinforce the importance of the issue and show your dedication. Engage with others. Consider joining or supporting organizations that advocate against sextortion. Their collective efforts can have a more significant impact and provide you with additional resources and guidance.
The more people who come forward with their stories, the more people who advocate on their behalf. The more tips and requests the law enforcement, detectives, and any other representatives receive, the higher the likelihood that we together can cooperate and make a difference in regards to this crime and all sex crimes. And on a final note, if you or anyone you love are experiencing suicidal thoughts or ideations, please call your local suicide hotline, or in the U.S., 988. And know that no matter where you live, someone is available to listen. Please know that you are loved and worthy, and there is hope.
We are now concluding Phase 1 of Still Minding the Beehive. Before we go, just a reminder that Tatum, Paris, Lexi, and Ashlyn, as well as every victim of sextortion and revenge porn, are all bees. Bees are strong, resilient, yet vulnerable. We must protect the bees at all costs, for without bees, we as humans will die out. So be vigilant for when you mess with the bees.
You get the hive.
Thank you for listening to A Nefarious Nightmare. Music used in the theme was originally by Ghost Stories Incorporated, remixed by Ryan RCX Murphy. Additional background music is provided by Epidemic Sound. A Nefarious Nightmare is scripted, researched, and produced by Courtney Fenner and Amanda Cronin. I'm Lainey Hobbs, and as always, be vigilant, for when you mess with the bees, you get the hive.